Making headlines first at 9. 2 in a row. Hours before the President's statement on Bond Commission report, the final report of another investigation handed over to the President. Politicians want the report made public. Planning ahead, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe assures that the port city will be unimaginable and laws pertaining to it will be tabled in Parliament this year. Achieving targets, Inland Revenue Department targets nearly 800 billion rupees in 2018.
We are targeting to collect that revenue through enhancing the current taxpayer base.
Regulatory action on troubled financial institutions. The central bank decides on ETI Finance and Swarna Mahal Financial Services.
The rationale for taking this regulatory action is to create the time and space.
Egging on, Israeli Prime Minister encourages anti-government protests in Iran. I'm Indira Yamuatha joining you tonight on First at 9. Today is indeed a significant day for all of us here at First at 9. Exactly an year ago, Derana launched a quest to broadcast news in English, venturing into a different market and allowing our viewers to experience the best of Sri Lanka's premier brand of news. First at 9 hit the airways on the 2nd of January last year with the determination of bringing all that happens across the island and around the world to your living room. Here's a look at the year passed by. Hello and welcome. For over 11 years, we have been on the story, on the streets, on the ground, bringing you the truth first and ensuring that your right to information is safeguarded. Tonight is the evolution of our legacy of telling your story, now in an international language. So let's begin with day 1 of our English service of Derana 24/7.
We are live across Sri Lanka.
This is your primetime news at 9.
Walking through the Colombo Open Air Art Gallery.
This is the first time Sri Lanka is privileged
to mark the International Workers' Day.
JVP May rally started off from, as you can see behind me, the new runway of the Katunayaka.
Are you talking about an attitudinal change?
Do you think that it undermines?
With more people on the ground and more resources across the country, we're everywhere you need us to be. This is Derana in English, every day at 9 p.m. on Derana 24/7.
Over the past year, we have broken barriers of English broadcasting when the power of Sri Lanka's #1 news brand morphed towards the English audience, bringing you the news from local, international, business, sports and weather arenas.
Just as it was yesterday, temperatures tomorrow will be relatively mild.
When a story that mattered to you broke into the airwaves, we were there covering it on behalf of you.
One of the strategies that y'all use,
asking the right questions and getting the correct answers. When tragedy struck, we were there.
A section of the Meethotamulla garbage dump collapsed.
When politics made a difference, we were there. When the country celebrated, we were there.
It's been amazing actually.
And when stories broke that mattered to you, we were there. All this was done while adhering to a self-imposed superior morals and ethics, staying true to the real values of journalism.
Joining you first at 9.
Just as it is with any good structure, our operation was built on a solid base with key pillars lending their unwavering support, all the while giving us the freedom to deliver the best without infringements.
Taking a look at your top stories tonight, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe engaged in an observational tour of the Colombo Port City construction work today. Addressing the gathering, the Premier said that the government hopes to table the necessary laws pertaining to the Colombo Port City in Parliament within this year.
Minister of Megapolis and Western Development Partli Champika Ranawaka, State Minister of Finance Iran Wickramaratne and Deputy Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs Dr. Harshidi Silva accompanied Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe during the observational tour of the Colombo Port City project.
With reclamation work done by China Harbour, we hope to develop this land into a city within 99 years. We aim to reap the maximum benefit from this city, and we have already earmarked a financial district within it to make it the financial hub of the Indian Ocean. We see this as a project that will bring the economy back to life. By 2020, we hope to complete the infrastructure development and then move on to other construction in the area. This will be a modernized city which will be developed in a manner that is unimaginable.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe signed the proposal to table the media guidelines for ethical reporting on elections in Parliament, which was gazetted in by the Election Commission. The Premier inked the proposal this morning at the Temple Trees.
The proposal on media guidelines gazetted by the Election Commission entails rules and regulations to be adhered to by media organizations during the election period. The move is geared to ensure that local government elections will be held in line with the Constitution in a fair and unbiased manner. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe signed the proposal to table the gazetted set of media guidelines in Parliament this morning.
As a government, we are determined to work according to the law, which includes election laws. We have introduced a new electoral system. The government of good governance will follow these laws according to the new system. I would like to request the support of everyone towards this.
And police media spokesperson SP Ruwan Gunasekara says 51 complaints have been lodged over violent conduct pertaining to the upcoming local government election. In the meantime, he also said that action is underway against those flouting election laws.
Incidents related to violation of election laws were reported during the past few days throughout the country. Police arrested an election candidate and 3 other individuals who were putting up posters in public places in Kegalle today. They were later released on sureties of 50,000 rupees each, after being produced before the Kegalle Magistrates Court.
39 arrests have been made with regards to these 51 complaints. There are 5 election candidates among them. 3 of the arrested are remanded at the moment, one being an election candidate. We have made 23 raids of election law violations.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister Dunesh Gangkanda filed a complaint at the Election Commission today, claiming that public view is affected by the influences of government officers who have direct affiliations with local government contestants. Meanwhile, National People's Party filed a petition at the Supreme Court with regard to the rejection of its nomination paper for the Colombo Municipal Council. Officials in the Election Commission, including Chairman Mahinda Deshapriya, are named as respondents of the petition. In the meantime, handing over a letter to the Election Commission today, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa emphasizes that he will not bear responsibility for those who act in an illegal manner by using his photos and other portraits. The former president added that he has not expressed any objections so far for the usage of his portraits by political parties and other independent political entities. He went on to reveal that he expects the Election Commission to take action against any political entity which acts in an illegal manner and exploit his portraits. Election monitoring body, the Campaign for Free and Fair Election or CAFE, also handed over a letter to the Election Commission today, claiming that the media event organised by the Commission to sign the gazetted set of media guidelines that will later be presented to the Parliament is being organised to gain indirect political profits. As usual, politicians didn't fail to lend their thoughts on the machinations in the run-up to the local government election.
We should be proud that the president is a son of a farmer and is from a normal family. It's sons of farmers who try to disrupt his journey. Those who come from high families have no problem accepting the president. We, who managed to cultivate this entire land, are now waiting for shipments of food at the Goldface Green. Those who are against selling off state land have gathered around the Flowerbud Party. The party represents those who were against the postponement of election. They're trying to sell off the Mattal airport with the support of an SLFP member. That's the difference. Those who criticize the bond issue don't even know what they're talking about. So if they're trying to criticize me, I could do the same to them.
In our top story tonight, the final report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate serious acts of fraud and corruption was handed over to President Maithripala Sirisena today. The report was handed over by the chairman of the commission at the Presidential Secretariat.
The final report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate serious acts of fraud, corruption and abuse of power, state resources and privileges was handed over to the President by the members of the Commission headed by Padman Sirisena. H.W. Gunadasa, Vikum Kaluarachi, R. Ranasinghe, Gihan Kulatunga and P.A. Prematilaka comprise the rest of the Commission. The Commission was appointed in 2015. Its final report is spread across 1,135 pages. Meanwhile, JVP representatives who arrived at the Presidential Secretariat made a request to have the copies of the reports produced by the Bond Commission and the Commission to investigate serious acts of fraud and corruption under the Right to Information Act. JVP parliamentarian Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa and former Provincial Councillor Sunil Watagala made the request following a meeting with the Information Officer of the Presidential Secretariat.
We think that Prime Minister had played a major role in this controversial bond transaction. He played his role from the appointment of Arjun Mahendran through to the COPE Committee report. We also hope that recommendations made are befitting the findings by the Commission. The most important thing about this report is that even before the final report was submitted, on several occasions, the Attorney General was informed to arrest some. Usually, arrests are made when the final report is submitted.
Meanwhile, several other politicians also expressed their views over President Maithripala Sirisena's statement, which is due to be made tomorrow on the recently presented Bond Commission report.
Why is the final report not issued to media? People are impatient to know what is included in this report and to know whether the Prime Minister is directly involved in this or not.
ඉතින් අපි ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා මේ වාර්තාව පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඉදිරිපත් කළ යුතුයි කියලා.
ඊට අමතරව බැඳුම් කර සිද්ධි වාර්තාව සම්බන්ධව මේක කතා කරනවා. නෑ ඒ ගැන වචනයක් කතා කරන්නේ. ඒක අමතුමා එතකොට මේ අර එටානිද්දා විශේෂ මේ ප්‍රකාශයක් කරනකොට ඒ ගැන කතා වුණා.
The President will make a special statement and will clearly mention the plan that will be executed. What is to be done is to take legal measures. It's only been 2 days since the report was submitted. There is nothing for the Attorney General to take but legal action.
During the past week, there were several news and social media reports which claimed that deaths have occurred in the Jaffna Teaching Hospital due to an unidentified flu. The reports also highlighted that there are myths and superstitious beliefs surrounding these deaths. Speaking to First at 9 Director of Jaffna Teaching Hospital, Dr. N. Satyamurthy, however, emphasized today that there is in fact no factual basis to reports in circulation. He requested the public not to panic due to these reports.
There is no such deaths happened at Teaching Hospital Jaffna. The reason was we didn't receive any cases such. Therefore, the public should know about the real situation. The other incident, there was a news appeared in a paper and the other social media, death related to the devil. There is no such deaths happened in Jaffna. We understood there were unrelated deaths such as cancer related and kidney failure and aged. People should not worry about that news.
Minister of Petroleum Resources Development Arjuna Ranatunga says a new investor will be brought to renew and refurbish the existing oil refinery. Minister Ranatunga touched on the matter while addressing an event organized to mark the new year at the ministry today, while emphasizing that an attitudinal change must also be made for goals to be achieved.
When I assumed office, the President asked me to clean this place up because it is a place riddled with problems. We were able to make it a profit-making institute. We managed to operate an oil tank, which no one could for the past 40 years. We will start operating another 6 tanks within the next 4 months. I will bring in an investor within the next 6 months to renew our oil refineries so that we'd be able to provide fuel for the country. There will be challenges. They are already saying not to go ahead with this decision. They say it's better to import fuel, but my decision-making will be for the betterment of the country.
Minister Arjuna Ranatunga also called on all the employees to lend their support to achieve progressive goals and highlighted his own experiences as the national captain who led the country to the Cricket World Cup in 1996.
I'll talk about one of my experiences. When I used to choose my players, I would consider their talent, but more than that, I would consider whether they are the type to think about the country first before themselves. The team that won the Cricket World Cup in 1996 weren't the best players at the time. The media will highlight this statement and I will be criticised for saying it, but I don't care. At the time, there were really talented players, but none played for the country, only for themselves. I told you this story because I want all of you to form a team within this organisation who would think like the national cricket team of 1996.
Well, we take a look at other local stories making news across Sri Lanka in brief now.
The shooting took place following a heated argument between two parties at Nagalagan Vidya in Grand Pass. According to the police media spokesperson's office, investigations are underway to apprehend the shooter responsible. The body of a 37-year-old British national was discovered at a ground located near the Department of Pensions at Araliya Uyana in Maligavatta, Colombo 10. Police spokesman SP Ruwangunasekara said that the case is suspected to be murder and that investigations are underway to ascertain to the cause of death. A fire erupted at the medicine storage facility of the Walasmula Base Hospital last night. According to the hospital, medicine worth 5 million rupees was destroyed in the fire. The residence of Northwestern Assistant Excise Commissioner Leslie Jayantha Ranavira was attacked with a hand grenade early this morning. The incident took place in Makandura Pannala. No casualties are reported from the incident and the cause for the attack has not yet been revealed. A leopard attacked 5 people in Panmur Estate, falling under the Hatton police area. Wildlife officials together with the police attempted to capture the leopard, and during the commotion, the leopard venting its frustration on a person was caught on camera. Officers from the Pandulagama and Galgama Wildlife Department treated an elephant with severe injuries to its mouth and one of the legs. The elephant sustained injuries when it was shot in the Palubol area in Nun area, Galgamua.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
In your top business news tonight, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has decided to take regulatory action on ETI Finance Limited and Swarna Mahal Financial Services PLC. Convening an emergency media briefing this evening, Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy said that the government has been given the approval to restructure the two financial companies due to their weak financial performances. He added that the action was taken with the view to safeguard the interests of the depositors and other creditors of the two companies, as well as to ensure the safety and soundness of the financial system.
As part of regulatory action, it has been decided to appoint a panel to manage the affairs of both companies, restrict the withdrawal of maturing deposits and renew such deposits for a period of 6 months, and the payment of interest due for deposits as per agreed terms and conditions.
The rationale for taking this regulatory action is to create the time and space for this liquidity constraint to be overcome. And we are confident that it will be. What the Monetary Board decided was, in order to, as I said, help the company to overcome its illiquidity position, it has taken regulatory action, it has given regulatory directions to both the finance company as well as 10 subsidiary companies which belong to ETI Finance. The idea is to try and hold in whatever assets and financing there is in these companies and to stop that from flowing out so that we can build up the liquidity in the holding company, which is ETI Finance. One set of directions is designed to restrict the business of the company and another set to restrict the powers of the board. All other powers will be vested in the management panel that the Monetary Board is appointing, And we are fortunate that at very short notice to be able to acquire the services of three very experienced people with a good balance of expertise. The person who will head the panel is the former Assistant Governor of the Central Bank, that's Mr. Sepala Ratnayaka.
And the Indian Revenue Department says that they contributed 602 billion rupees to national funds during the past year.
The last year I have collected 602 billion rupees. The target given to me was 600 billion. So therefore that I can say I have achieved the targets over the 100%. There's a vast improvement in the 2017. 2016 the collection was 460 billion. So this year, the last year 2017, it was 602 billion. It's a more than the 30% increments to the when compared to the previous year. We are implementing the new system called the Ramesh systems. The Ramesh system is capable of comparing that the input schedules and output schedule. Mainly we collected the revenue through the VAT income. It's the improvements in the VAT 167%. So that mainly due to the comparing the two schedules, the input and output schedules, as well as the officers' efficiency.
He also went on to express about the target income for the year 2018.
Yeah, 2018, I have received the target of rupees 792 billion to collect it. When it compared to the 600 billion, it's a 32% increments they are requiring. Mainly, we are targeting to collect that revenue through enhancing the current taxpayer base. Especially that under the Ramesh systems, we have recognized more than the 35 agencies to be interface, by which we'll be able to open up the new tax files. Then we can collect more revenue. Family, their main expenditure is either for the healthcare or for their children's education. We are focusing on them and we urge them to come and pay the correct share to the government.
Oil prices posted their strongest opening to a year since 2014 today, with crude rising to mid-2015 highs amid large anti-government rallies in Iran and ongoing supply cuts led by OPEC and Russia. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $60.61 a barrel, up 19 cents after hitting $60.73 earlier in the day, their highest since June 2015. Brent crude futures, the international benchmark, were at $67.12 a barrel, up 25 cents after hitting a May 2015 high of $67.27 a barrel earlier in the day. And at the Colombo Bourse, the benchmark all-share price index gained 42.01 points to close at 6,411.27, while the Sri Lanka S&P SL20 index gained 30.91 to close trading at 3,702.63. Meanwhile, market turnover was around 194.55 million rupees. Here's a look at the market update with Imeshi Fernando.
The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,918.41 billion rupees. Top 5 gainers of the day were Blue Diamonds, Tess Agro non-voting, Palm Garden Hotels, Renuka Holdings non-voting, and Asia Asset Finance, while the top 5 losers were PC Pharma, Amana Takaful, Hunters and Company, Swarna Mahal Financial Services, and Colombo Land and Development. Today's foreign purchases were 111.44 million rupees and foreign sales were 8.63 million rupees. There were 3 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 97.59 million rupees.
Demonstrations in Iran continued for a fifth day yesterday after 13 people were reported to have been killed a day earlier in the worst wave of unrest since 2009, when huge crowds took to the streets to condemn the re-election of then-President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. The protest put pressure on the clerical leaders in power since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, as well as President Hassan Rouhani. In the meantime, Israel, which has been dividing world opinion for pushing Jerusalem as its capital, appeared to pour fuel into the fire by encouraging Iran's protests.
Iran is a major OPEC oil producer and regional power, but frustrations have grown at home, where youth unemployment reached 28.8% last year, while the country is deeply involved in Syria and Iraq as part of a battle for influence with rival Saudi Arabia. Those foreign interventions are resented by many Iranians who want their leaders to create jobs instead of engaging in costly proxy wars. Delivering a statement on state television, President Hassan Rouhani said problems of the people is not only economic.
We can't say who has taken to the street has orders from other countries. There might be a handful like that, but some have taken to the street based on their emotions and due to their problems. Their problem is not only economic. It's not like people have come to the street to say that we want money, bread and water. They have other demands as well.
Israeli Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, meanwhile, wished success to Iranian anti-government protesters yesterday, but emphasized that Israel was not involved in Tehran's internal affairs.
It's not only false, it's laughable. And unlike Rouhani, I will not insult the Iranian people. They deserve better. Brave Iranians are pouring into the streets. They seek freedom, they seek justice, they seek the basic liberties that have been denied to them for decades. Iran's cruel regime wastes tens of billions of dollars spreading hate. The regime is terrified of them, of their own people. That's why they jail students. That's why they ban social media.
And Israel today set a high threshold for any future vote on ceding parts of Jerusalem to Palestinians who want the eastern part of the city for future independent state. The amendment to existing legislation raised the number of votes required in the 120-seat Knesset from 61 to 80 for approval of any proposal to hand over a part of the city to a foreign party.
Long in the legislative pipeline, the amendment comes less than a month after US President Donald Trump angered the Palestinians, Middle East leaders and world powers by recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Palestinian officials did not immediately comment. The status of Jerusalem, holy to Muslims, Jews and Christians, is one of the most sensitive issues in the decades-old Israel-Palestinian conflict. US negotiations between Israel and Palestinians have been frozen since 2014. But if ever resumed, a special Israeli parliament majority to approve handing over parts of Jerusalem could complicate efforts to reach a peace accord.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
And in sports, Germany got their Hopman Cup efforts off to a winning start with victory over Belgium in Perth yesterday. Meanwhile, there was also action in the Brisbane International with wins for Jared Donaldson and Matthew Ebden.
In the Hopman Cup, Angelique Kerber got the first rubber with a hard-fought 7-6, 7-6 win against Belgium's Elise Mertens.
Game, set match, Germany. 2 sets to love. 7-6, 7-6.
Recovered from defeat to combine with Kerber to prevail in the doubles 4-2, 4-3.
2 sets to love. 4-2, 4-3.
Meanwhile, in the Brisbane International, Jared Donaldson and Australia's Matthew Ebden recorded first-round wins yesterday. American Donaldson beat Australia's Jordan Thompson 6-2, 6-4, while Ebden beat Francis Tiafoe of the US 6-3, 6-2.
2 sets to love. 6-3, 6-2.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
And here's a look at your forecast first evening edition with your weather for the next 24 hours.
Good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now we can expect temperatures to vary between 19 and 29 degrees Celsius over the course of the day. Now you will be able to see a formation of a low pressure zone in the central region of the island as well as in the southern region of the island. Some cloudy skies can be expected in Putlam and Vauna in the northern region. However, if you move downwards, you can expect some thunder showers in Galle and some patches of cloud in the Matara and Hambantota areas. That is it from your weather center tonight. Let's now take a quick look at your city by city forecast.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
And that's all from the Other Derana News Centre. But before you go, we'd like to remind you that you can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/first@9 or like us on Facebook on facebook.com/first@9. As usual, before we wrap things up, we would like to bring you some of Sri Lanka's most significant and revered locations, including the ancient kingdom of Anuradhapura. These historical sites are visited by thousands each year and are major attractions for foreign tourists. Hope you enjoy these visuals. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.